In this lesson, we're going to review some important Excel formulas that you should know before using VBA. This is to help you automate VBA codes without the need to continuously view the code and make corrections whenever there is a slight change in your database. We're only going to briefly explain these lessons, so if you want to have a detailed grip on these topics, you can check our Ultimate Excel course, where you can learn these formulas in depth with sample lessons. The important Excel formulas are offset, match, index, SUMIF, SUMIFS, and CountA. There are other formulas as well that are useful, but we're not going to discuss them in this section. The offset formula is important for three reasons. The first reason is that it's automatically used in the code if you record a macro using relative reference. This makes it an extremely useful formula, as VBA code uses it to instruct Excel to move from one cell to the next. The second reason is that it can be used in combination with other Excel formulas to give a dynamic range selection, which helps to automate tasks easily. The third reason why the offset function is important is that the formula can navigate in any direction, whether it be left, right, up, or down. The offset formula has the basic syntax. It simply asks how many rows and cells to move from the active cell. This means that we can either manually type the number of rows or columns, or we can combine it with other formula so that we get a dynamic code. We will discuss the combination of offset with other formula in detail in our next lessons. The match formula is used as a lookup formula where it searches for a value and returns the row number or the column number in which the cell is located. In the match formula syntax, Excel asks you for the following syntax: the lookup value, the lookup array, and the match type. In the lookup value, you're supposed to select the value that you want to look up within the array. There should be no spelling mistake, otherwise there will be a no applicable error. If you are manually typing the value, which is in a text, then you'll have to make sure that you include it within quotations. The lookup array is the range in which you are looking up the value. Please make sure that you carefully select the starting point of the array so that the answer is correct. The match type is either exact match or approximate. We're going to use the exact match in our example. People usually make an error when using the match formula, and they need to keep in mind the following possible errors that could occur. The first possible error is that the match formula can only be run on a single column or a single row, and it can't be run on both simultaneously. If you try to use the formula with multiple rows or columns, it'll return a not applicable error. The second possible error is that the match formula starts the lookup value search beginning with the selected range. There can be an error in selecting the range in the first place, which will result in a wrong value. We'll explain this further with the help of an example. Suppose you have a table that has headings, and your table begins with column A. Now you want the column number of the table heading that contains the agent names. If your lookup range starts with column A, then the answer will be 2. But if your lookup range is erroneously selected as column B, the return answer will be 1. You'll need to be careful of this error and always try to test it out while making your code. Let's move on to the index formula. The index formula is used to create an index of a range in Excel that can span multiple rows and columns. Once you define the range, you must select the row and column number to fetch the data in the cell. This is like the offset formula, with the limitation that the data should lie within the range that we have provided. This is useful only when we are sure in which range our data lies. We'll need knowledge of the SUMIF or any other mathematical formula if we want to calculate a certain set of values in order to generate a report. For example, you have a database that has daily sales of agents, and you want to calculate the total sales by agent for a period. You can simply select the agent names, paste it on a column, and then use the remove duplicates formula. Then, on the unique names, you can use SUMIF formula to calculate the sum of all sales made by that agent. After that, you can paste it to the rest of the list. We need to understand that there might be situations when the criteria range and sum range are in different columns to those that we selected. Therefore, we'd have to combine the formula with other formulas to make it more dynamic. The variation to SUMIF formula is SUMIFS formula that includes multiple criteria ranges. The CountA formula is important, especially when you have a database that contains a field that is continuously changing, so that a code has to be dynamic to process the result, and you want to make your code dynamic in a way that refers to the varying rows or columns when performing a calculation. The CountA formula returns the number of cells in a range that are not blank. We're going to explain this with the help of an example. We're going to continue our lesson with the SUMIF formula. In our previous example, we used the SUMIF formula to calculate total sales by agents. We then pasted the formula to all the remaining names in the list. Using VBA, it will record the SUMIF formula, but for the copy and paste of the formula, it'll select the range and automate the process. There are some limitations to manually using the SUMIF formula rather than VBA on a large database. Suppose each month we have a new addition in the number of agents. The formula will have to be amended every time to address the difference in the number of agents. This creates inefficiencies. Using the SUMIF formula extensively on a manual database will make the Excel sheet large in size and slow it down with a bunch of unnecessary calculations. Additionally, it'll result in zero values in the blank columns, which does not serve any purpose, as you'll then manually have to remove these blank values as well. Considering the above issues, it becomes helpful to know that we can use VBA in this situation. Using VBA, we're going to write a formula with dynamic range and logic. The logic is that we need Excel to count the number of rows in the column that contains the unique agent names every time the macro is run in the database. We're going to use the CountA formula so that whenever there's a change in the number of unique agent names, the CountA function will automatically change the value based on the number of rows containing data. We will use this automatic functionality and input the code along with the offset function to make the range dynamic so that the SUMIF formula is only pasted against those cells that contain a unique agent name. We will look at the formula again and the code generated. Then we'll try to input the CountA formula in the range selection to make it dynamic. We will then try it on some sample databases to see if it works. We're going to focus on this formula only and therefore record a macro for this part. We'll first do the same steps for all the files in our sample database and copy the agents column, then use the remove duplicates formula to arrive at the unique agent name. Next, we'll then input the SUMIF formula against the first agent name that contains criteria range as the agent column and the sum range as the policy sales column. Now we will use record macro and copy the SUMIF formula and paste it to the rest of the unique agent names. Next, we'll press stop recording and go to Visual Basic from the Developer tab to view the code generated. The code generated contains a simple syntax to copy the active cell that contains the SUMIF formula and then paste it from cells H3 to H11. In detail, we are selecting cell H3 as the starting point, as cell H2 already contains the SUMIF formula And then we are telling Excel that the range is based on the total number of non-blank rows in the column where the agent names are using the CountA formula. We are then deducting 2 from the range because we don't want the header and the first name against which the formula is already posted. We want to make this selection dynamic, and therefore we will change it to a formula that is more dynamic, and which performs calculations based on data that is continuously changing. You are going to paste the following formula in place of the selected range. We wanted to show the utility of the CountA formula in generating a dynamic range. As the CountA function is linked with the unique agent sales names column, its values will continuously change based on the data stored in that column. And as we have built this formula in the overall offset code, any changes will affect the overall formula and the sum paste range. We'll now run this macro on some examples to test whether it's able to paste formula on only those cells which have unique agent names. And here we go. We have no unnecessary 0 columns to remove or unnecessary heavy Excel sheets. The formula is pasted depending on the number of rows of the agent columns. To summarize, the offset, match, index, SUMIF, and CountA formulas are a few important formulas that you should know when practicing with writing or amending VBA codes. We will expand on these formula in our upcoming VBA lessons as they help to make ranges more dynamic and to make the code more automated. Hey guys, thanks for watching this lesson. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I'd really appreciate a like and subscribe from you. And if you want to learn more about Microsoft Excel, check out these videos above. And don't forget to check out our website, commercecurve.com, where we have lots of in-depth finance and accounting courses available with full training workbooks. All of our courses come with complete workbooks of lessons, examples, pre-built financial models, and training video. Hope to see you there.